Graceful arrival as Chakra Doula Ti. I'm your host, your doula, your womb whisperer, and your birth companion. Today, whenever this arrives, your timeline and crosses your path, we're diving into one of the most important tools you can use in creation of your birth journey, and that is your birth plan. A birth plan isn't just a checklist, it's a manifestation of how you desire to bring life earthside. It's your map, your prayer, your intention written into action. Before we start, take a moment to place your hand over your womb space. Take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And set your intention. I deserve to birth in power, peace, and presence. I deserve to birth in power, in peace, and presence. That's the foundation of today's offering. Now let's begin. So, who is Chakra Doula Ti? I created Chakra Doula Ti as a space for women, especially women of color, to feel seen, supported, and sacred through every part of their womb journey, from fertility to postpartum. I hold space for you to remember that you are the portal of creation. My role as your doula is to support your emotional, physical, and spiritual alignment as you write your story of your birth your way. What is a birth plan? A birth plan is your communication guide, a way to express your preferences, desires, and boundaries to your care team. It's not about control, it's about clarity. It's the document that says, here's how I feel safe, empowered, and supported during one of the most powerful experiences of my life. Think of it as your energetic contract between your womb, your baby, and your birth team. Why have a birth plan? Why is it important to have a birth plan? Because your birth story matters. When you take time to plan, you reclaim your voice before you even step into the birthing space. You decide who's in your room, what energy fills your air, and how your body is touched and tended to. Whether your birth unfolds exactly as you envision or takes its own divine path, your birth plan ensures your boundaries, desires, and spirit are honored. Birth plan outline, rundown. Let's go over a little bit. Okay, here's the meat and potatoes. This section guides you through the birth plan categories, and I explain a little bit and educate with this information. So, in my outline of birth plans, I have about 8 sections that we go over, so we'll touch on it and go through and why it's important. The first section is the setting and the environment. No, this isn't no Shakespearean outline. However, it might be a Shakespearean outline, okay? But we need to know the setting and the environment, where we prefer to be at, where we plan to be at, who's in the room, who brings you peace, who holds sacred space, who's in the room, who brings you peace, who holds sacred space. I just needed to be known. Duels don't count as who's in the room. Just so you know, we are professional. The setting, don't scapegoat us to be in the room because we coordinated and we're providing services. You, from jump, get to be intentional about who's in the room, who brings you peace, and who holds sacred space. Think of your environment as your temple. Control the lighting, your sounds, your scents. Include tools like birth balls, squat bars, sound bowls, essential oils, temperature control options. All of these have to do in regards to the setting and the environment. Ask yourself, what does a peaceful birth feel like for me? This is a great time and a great journaling process when I meet with clients, my clients that are birth clients or clients that need support in birth plan writing. I don't gatekeep birth plan writing because you're not a client with me. I find this empowerment to be so science seal delivered, and I have witnessed, in my favorite component about birth plans is when the dads start bossing motherfuckers around with the birth plans. It gives me life, part of my French, but it just gives so much life because it's the rules, it's the boundaries, the sacred space, it's the intentionality behind the birth and what you plan on doing and why it's important to have this lined out so you don't gotta keep repeating yourself. Who wants to repeat themselves when they're birthing? I don't know. So requests prior to birth is the next subject that we go over. And before contractions begin, write your preferences out. What do you want to eat or drink during labor? Don't let them play you into not being able to eat or drink during labor. That's why. How do you feel about photos or video during your birth? What birth positions, as you review them, feel intuitive, feel natural in your body, feel really comfortable to flow through? How involved do you want your partner or support person to be? Now, when I say this, I mean all up in the business. How much in the business do you want? You want them cutting the cord? You want them catching the baby? You want them to see you at the ring of fire? Or have that conversation. That's important. Um, I really can't be mad because those aren't my relationships to discuss. But the honest conversation with your partner about the changes that be going on, specifically if this is your first baby together, that's important because if that's your first baby, period, some men it doesn't even like fathom that that thing be going bang bang right on back, and they don't always want to see that. It makes a huge difference for them. So be mindful, have that open dialogue, and return back to your doula if there is components of that conversation with your partner that don't feel empowering in regards to your body. Hold space for your partner. It's not birth time yet, and plans can be made surrounding that. Maybe they just ain't gonna see the pussy popping portal, and that's okay because they can't handle seeing it. But having that conversation and planning for that is most important. So during this time, birth planning time, birth plan writing time, have the awkward conversation because it will take away a traumatic experience during the birth. And I say that again, if you have the uncomfortable conversations when you can be supported, either with your doula or afterwards with your doula, and you have the space where you're not birthing, that you can engage in a conversation with your partner about anything that's uncomfortable or maybe new aspects that you didn't realize that you get to learn about each other. It's best that these experiences happen before birth. And so I'm gonna say as a doula, it's so beautiful when it's like, we planned for this and this is how we're dealing with that. And no shade or disrespect to any parties involved. I've also worked with moms that were like, I'm getting a C-section because I can't handle what changes might be coming on with that. And I'm prepared and we're prepared for C-section, postpartum, and dealing with that post-op. And that's real life too. But have the conversation because you're worthy of the conversation to be had. And I just want to encourage that. Next, how involved, how do you want to manage pain and contractions This is the component of the birth plan that grinds my gears the most because I know me as a doula, I am so blatantly honest about how birth really is. I'm not sugarcoating shit. I'm being all the way honest. And I'm also being honest with every component and intervention, whether it's the nurse and me, and I just gotta have that bedside manner right. But I really don't like the back up against the wall, even down to the conversations with dad. If mom said she wanted to have a natural birth and you keep asking her, does she want pain meds? Maybe you, dad, need to leave the room too for a moment because you're not following birthing plans. And that's important because other people's comfort, and I say this wisely, if it is not the baby, me as the doula, and when I say comfort of the baby, the wellness, the well being of the baby, and the comfort, because that heart rate is going to let us know. That fetal heart rate will very much let us know if that baby is comfortable. First and foremost, because that's why we're here. And the goal is a successful and healthy birth. Next, and most importantly, until the baby is here, and even after the baby is here, the mom's comfort is most important. And if mom said she wants to have a natural birth because she doesn't want an epidural, which means she doesn't want a catheter, because we talked about UTIs. Ask your wife again. She want the epidural. With me as your doula, ask your wife again. Y'all discuss that, and she's telling me not in the middle of a contraction. You ain't did nothing to help her stand up. Oh no, honey. We're gonna go back and play these books back, and that's why it's so important. And why I find the empowerment of the birthing plan, the earlier you write it, the better. Because one, you got the options to make multiple versions of experiences, plan A to double Z. Two, everyone can be aware. Study this guide, baby, because you're going to be tested on it. You're going to be tested on this. And it's important because whether the cop out is there, I have yet to meet a mom that I have guided through a natural labor, even when they were crying at their brain, did they regret going natural? Some may never had no kids after that going natural since then, but they don't regret it. They didn't have the interventions. They're empowered. They couldn't fathom the goddess energy in them to bring life for her side, and they did it with no meds. So that celebration is important. And if someone's really choosing that, me as a doula, I'm championing behind that. And I'm really cutting everyone off mid-sentence. Like, no, we're not talking about that right now. And I'll tell your doctor that. I'll tell your husband that. And if y'all had that conversation, that's fine. Please don't bring that up. Please don't. Have you done anything to try to intervene? And interventions is best because, fun fact about pain management during birth, work one contraction at a time, baby. What worked the last contraction might not work the next contraction. And that's okay. But you don't. Oh, do you need an epidural? Because guess what? You'll still feel something even though you're not supposed to feel nothing. So please educate yourself because this is not the place or the space to be drug seeking. And I say that with no shame and no judgment. I say that in a lack of supportive response is the use of going to pain meds. What I'm saying, you won't rub her back, but her back hurts. She's having back labor. You need an epidural. No, she needs her back rubs. And if she still needs something after touch, because most women have now gone all the way from shooting in this gym all the way to the championship game 6. I think we turn around for game 7. It's intentional. And it's important to be supported during that time. What are your boundaries with medical monitoring and cervical checks? I know in New York, they have adopted specifically since COVID and that outbreak in March of 2020, they have eliminated, unless you are showing signs of transitioning in labor, they have eliminated the every 6 hours, every 4 hour cervical check. That doesn't happen. It's not happening. It doesn't happen. You have to ask to get your cervix checked. In reality, I appreciate it as a doula. It, for me, encourages me, empowers me, makes me feel like these people know what they're doing because they are paying attention to the body then rather than invasively determining how far along we are. And I think that's important to tune in and listen to the body, most importantly. Remember, your comfort is a medical need. You, the mother, comfort is the medical need. Next, let's talk about request during labor. Here, we focus on your goal for birth. Natural, medicated, C-section, water birth. What pain management practices feel aligned? Deep breathing, visualization, affirmations, hypnobirthing, meditation, orgasmic birthing. What is your preference for fetal monitoring? Also, understand, and I would encourage a birth tour if they still have it, or deep questionings and answer sessions with your provider about what is in requirement for fetal monitoring. A lot of places, it's their way so that they don't have to be on you as a provider or a nurse. They can still witness what's going on in the motion of labor. Do you consent to episiotomy, which is or do you prefer natural tearing? I've observed more natural tearing and even different practices. And this was at the birthing hospital that was run by midwives. And they use mineral oil, grease the canal, get right on out. So, mineral oil is always a conversation and always a you should encourage this because that was genius. And when I tell you, midwives will do whatever they need to do on top, including turning a baby mid labor to avoid having to hand off that birth to an OB doctor. They're going to do what they need to do. So, definitely, that mineral oil is going on all of my mother's birth plans. You sure will be in a greasy cooch so the baby can get up on there. Okay. And do you support instrumental assistance or do you prefer hands off support? Yes, we prefer hands off support because you are allowed to have preferences and flexibility. Now we did everything. The baby's here. Newborn care and earthside support. This is about how your baby transitions earthsides. Who will hold your baby first? Do you want immediate skin to skin? Who will hold the baby first? You. Who do you want immediate skin to skin? Yes. Are you breastfeeding or bottle feeding? Your education, preparedness, awareness about that. Fun fact, you still gonna have milk coming out your boobs, whether or not you're breastfeeding. It's a natural process of the laboring process. So you're gonna produce milk regardless. It's part of all things, but either way, whether if you're bottle feeding, you're still gonna have to deal with that. If you're breastfeeding, we'll definitely have to deal with that. So just be mindful. Will you delay cord clamping or have a lotus birth with herbal care? Fun fact, lotus birth is a home birth experience. They are not participating in lotus births in hospital. Mm-mm. That's not an in-hospital thing. Delayed cord clamping. Yes, I will say this Scout's honor as a doula on camera and recorded. Let them know it's for religious purposes. And wait till that line goes white. All three of them. Okay. And how do you feel about eye drops, vitamin K drops, a baby bath, hearing tests, circumcision if it's a boy, and lab work? All of that you can lay right out on your birth plan. I ain't talking about this. You see this beautiful bundle of joy I got here? Birth doesn't end when the baby arrives, it evolves. Now, this is where the mother is reborn, and this is postpartum goddess support. Are you interested in herbal sitz bath and nether soaks? Are you interested in belly binding and womb wrapping? Would you like a list of supplements to support lactation, urinary health, and digestive health? Any natural remedies, things like witch hazel, medical stuff like soda cane for healing, postpartum support, comfiness, robes, clothing, pillows, heat packs. Postpartum is the fourth trimester. Your rest is your restoration. We then have the emergency contacts, additional support. Your medical provider will be on this list. Any personal support or doula backup plans. You would also have your hospital bag and your hospital bag checklist, which is another option we can talk about as well. So, in reflection and thinking about your birth plan, who will be a part of your birth planning? What do you desire from your birth plan? When will your team know how to support you? So, are you going to give this to everybody at the birth time? You're going to give it so they can review it before? Where will you be supported? Why do you desire this for your birth story? How can you make this a lived experience during birth? Reflection brings alignment. Your plan is both structure and ceremony. As we close, remember, your birth plan is your womb's love letter to your future self. It says, I trust my body. I trust my baby. I trust the sacred unfolding of this birth. If you'd like to write your own guided birth plan with me, let's book a session to curate your divine birth plan. Together, we go line by line from energy to emergency to make sure your plan speaks your truth. Until next time, keep tending to your womb as your first altar. You are divine. You are prepared. You are birthing on purpose.